Hi, and welcome to another episode of Better Golfer Today. I am your host, Tyler Dice, and this show is presented by Tyler Dice Golf. This is episode number 25, and we have a great show planned for y'all today. Today's main topic is going to be on playing the bounce. As always, I'll be sharing what I'm working on, and today's tip of the week is on playing smart. So, let's get started. Okay, so as I record this podcast with Links Golf fresh on the mind, I wanted to do a show on playing the bounce. As an American and someone who has grown up in America playing mostly American-style golf courses, playing the bounce was always a foreign concept to me. It was something I never really had to do. The course I grew up playing was very short, traditional American-style golf course. That means it was lined with trees. It had thick rough, super small greens, tight, narrow fairways, and the fairways almost never continued up to the green, meaning they always ended at a certain distance and it was rough from fairway to green. So there wasn't much playing the bounce going on at my home course growing up. So that meant that the skill of bouncing the ball onto the green was one I never really developed, because in western Pennsylvania, you don't bounce the ball through the rough. It just doesn't happen very often. The ball hits the rough and it stops, because the rough is usually pretty thick. It's usually a couple inches long. And so, yeah, I never really learned how to play the bounce when I was little. And then, when I was about 18 years old, I started playing I started playing at a course called Totter Ridge in western Pennsylvania. And if you look it up, it's quite nice. It's a lot of fun. And it's definitely a complete 180 from what I grew up playing. It was way more of a links golf course than I'd ever seen in my entire life in person. There were hardly any trees on the golf course, and very, very few trees that were out there even came into play. So you never had to worry about hitting something. The wind was always a factor. The golf course played very firm and very fast for most of the year. And it was a lot of fun. But when I was there, I had to start learning how to play the bounce, because it dictated. But now I don't live in western Pennsylvania anymore. Now I live in North Carolina. And a lot of the golf courses have a linksy style feel to them, because the great Donald Ross lived here and designed a lot of the more famous tracks, like, say, Raleigh Country Club, Pinehurst No. 2, and Sedgefield Country Club. And because he was so prominent and so well respected, a lot of the other course designers that happen to build courses around here, design courses around here, took a lot of things that he did well and incorporated them into their golf courses. And so, being in North Carolina, we have a much more rolling terrain where I live in North Carolina, and so we have a little bit more of a links style than I ever really played when I was younger. And so these courses down here blend a links style with the traditional Carolina pines that are so prevalent around here. And it's really, really pretty. And it's really nice. So, since moving down here, learning to play the bounce has become a way of life. And it's great, and it's creative, and it's a lot of fun. And there's a learning curve to it. And there's some things you need to figure out, and there's some things you need to experience before you kind of understand what playing the bounce is all about. Because playing the bounce isn't about perfection. Playing the bounce isn't about doing everything you can do to make sure that you get the best results on a hole. Playing the bounce is about having fun and trying to get the most out of the hole, knowing that imperfection is what you're really going against, and it's imperfection on purpose, which is what makes golf so great. It's not perfect. There's no perfect squares or perfect lines or anything like that with golf, okay? It's all rounded edges. It's all, things blend together, and it's a lot of fun. And that's what makes golf so great. It's what makes golf so unique. And so, playing the bounce has become very, very important to me over these last couple of years since moving down here. Now, I've been down here over a decade now. But playing the bounce is a lot of fun. And again, it's not about being perfect. It's not about doing everything you can do. It's about playing the bounce is about dealing with the curveballs that you get dealt with in life every day. And that's why it's so much fun. So, in a lot of cases, you might not be able to play your normal game when you play golf in North Carolina, because the option of flying the ball to the hole or near the hole isn't an option here. We have a lot of varieties of grass here. So if you're in the center of the state or more towards the coastline or a little south, you can get away with a different type of grass in your greens versus, say, the more western side of the state and more north. Okay? And where I live, which is in the center of the state, it's kind of like a battleground going on right now, where you see some courses rock Bermuda greens and you see some courses rock your traditional bent grass greens. Now, all the golf courses in the area have Bermuda fairways, rough, and tees. A couple have some Azoysia fairways, but you don't see that very often around here. And some have Azoysia tee boxes as well. But you don't see this as often because Azoysia grass likes the heat. And even though it's really hot here, it's not hot here all year round. We have a gorgeous spring and we have a gorgeous fall. And the temperatures are a lot cooler. And when I say a lot cooler, I mean like between under 85 to 70 for most of the spring and most of the fall. And so the zoysia needs really hot temperature. So it just doesn't do as well here as it would, say, in Georgia or Florida. Now, but anyways, I digress to the grasses. But anyways, depending on where you play, flying the ball to the hole isn't really an option. If you're playing on a Bermuda grass green, you are going to be bouncing that ball into the green usually, because they're typically a lot firmer, and in the summertime a lot bouncier. So the ball likes to bounce, so you got to be able to play the bounce. And so, moving down here, learning to play golf down here, figuring out how the grasses react was definitely a big learning curve. So again, like I said earlier, you can't play your traditional style of golf down here in the southeast because the ball likes to bounce. And that means no soft greens, unless you're playing bent grass greens, and then those are soft in the summer and then firm the rest of the year. Because in the fall, winter, and spring, a lot of the golf courses have really firm greens, which is nice. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting off topic here a little bit. Let me stay on topic a little bit better. And so when you're playing golf, sometimes the only way to get the ball close to the pin and not, say, bounce over the green is to play a shot that bounces up to the flagstick. And sometimes the best way to give you the best angle to the green is to bounce the ball off a slope around the rough or in the fairway or something to give you the right angle. And so down in North Carolina and a lot of places across the country, you have to learn to play the bounce, and you have to figure that out just by seeing the golf course. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun learning to play the bounce because it's about unpredictability. Sometimes you're going to get the best bounce in the world. Sometimes you're going to get an okay bounce. Sometimes you're going to get an average bounce. Sometimes you're going to get a great bounce. Sometimes you're going to get a horrible bounce. But that's all about golf, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it enjoyable. It's about, pushing the limits and about seeing what you can get out of the golf course and seeing what you can get out of your game and seeing, how in the golf course and like life throws you curveballs, seeing how you can manage the situation. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to just talk about, I'm going to say some things and then I'm going to kind of explain them a little bit and just kind of explain why you would do certain things. So, playing the bounce is sometimes considered like running the golf ball up to the green. Like I stated earlier, a lot of the golf courses down here have a linksy undertones to them, meaning that you have fairway that goes all the way to the green. And so that's really fun because when you're farther out, you can hit shots that land and bounce and they will trundle up onto the green. Or if you're like in the rough or behind some of these really tall Carolina pines that we have down here, you can curve the ball one way or the other around the trees and again bounce that golf ball up onto the green. And when you're coming out of the rough and you get those jumper lies, in the Northeast, those jumper lies are very problematic because you typically have to carry the golf ball the entire way to the hole. However, down here, you get some leeway because you can bounce the ball short, land it short, and let it bounce up onto the green. And so there's lots of different ways you can play holes, which is really, really fun. It's a lot of fun to have, say, hey, here's a golf hole, and you've got 4 ways to play it. Have fun. Or you got 5 ways to play it. Have fun. Or you got 1,000 different ways to play it. That's a lot of fun. That's really, really interesting to be able to play holes that have so much creativity automatically built in. I know a lot of people, they don't like playing holes where the designer says, this is the only way to play this hole. And if you want to play it right, this is how you have to do it. That's not always fun to play. That's not always fun golf. Not everybody likes to do that. We like options. Especially Americans. Americans love options. We love options. We do. We like freedom. That's important. That's really important to us. We like the freedom to decide how best we want to do it. So we don't like being restricted. A lot of times when you're playing golf, a lot of the golf courses down here like to have these ultra severe slopes on the greens and around the greens. And sometimes you're forced into bouncing the golf ball and rolling the golf ball off these big slopes on your approach shots just to be able to get the ball close to the hole. I mean, Donald Ross was famous for his turtleback greens, and so they would repel the golf ball. And because the green would sit 3, 4, 5, 6 feet above the surface of the fairway and these runoff areas around the greens, you had to be creative. You had to use these slopes and bounce the ball off of this and that and the other thing just to get the ball on the green or even somewhat close to the hole to give yourself a putt. A lot of the golf courses down here have what I like to call, quote-unquote, speed slots. And what a speed slot is, it's a certain part of the fairway that when you land the ball in that certain spot, it's kind of downhill and it rockets the golf ball off and you can get a lot more roll. And those are pretty common on your older style golf courses down here. The designer was trying to say, hey, I'm going to throw this natural, it could just be the ground the way it was naturally there. And he could say, you know what, I'm going to give the player a benefit. If he figures it out to hit the ball over here, he can get 15, 20 more yards of roll. And so a lot of golf courses down here like to do that. Not all of them, but some of the holes have these little speed slots. And typically they're on the more aggressive side of the hole. And there's definitely a risk reward there. But, finding those speed slots is a great way to give you some more distance off your tee shot. And again, it's all about playing the bounce. That's what the bounce is all about. Sometimes these speed slots are actually in the rough. Again, because we don't live in the Northeast anymore, we live down here in the Southeast. The rough isn't always as penal as it is up in the Northeast. Typically, our rough is only like 1 or 2 inches long in the summertime. We just don't keep it very long. And part of that is Bermuda rough, when it's really long, like say over 3 inches, gets incredibly difficult. It's a really fine line going from the 2 inches of rough, which is not bad. It's fine. It's no big deal. And then they go to 3 inches of rough, and it's almost unplayable for virtually every golfer that tees it up that day. And so you really can't take a lot of chances, or you can't, as a golf course superintendent, you really can't justify having rough be 3 inches long. Number one, guys won't be able to play the ball out of it. Number two, you won't even be able to find golf balls because with Bermuda rough, the ball always sits down at the bottom. It doesn't lay over, it stands straight up. So, playability-wise, and for your average golfer, thick rough is just not something that they can handle down here because the Bermuda rough is so difficult to play out of. And so, anyways, yeah. And then, a lot of golf courses around here, they've got these, it's a really kind of rolling terrain through here. And so a lot of greens have a lot of rolling terrain around them. And what a lot of designers like to do is put deep bunkers in this rolling terrain around the greens. One of the more popular golf courses in my area, which is the Duke University Golf Club, all their greens are elevated severely, with the exception of just a few holes. And those few holes are typically they're 10, 11, 12, and 13. And so those holes have greens that sits 10, 11, 12, 13. Those greens sit level with the ground. But the rest of the greens actually sit elevated. And in most instances, 4, 5, 6 feet elevated off the, say, fairway surface. And they have bunkers that are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet deep below the surface of the putting green. And so, when you're having to deal with that, sometimes you have to hit bunker shots and bounce them around these slopes, these little mounds that the bunkers are cut into. And it can be challenging, but it can also be a lot of fun. But the course designers thought of that, and so that's part of the way you have to play the hole. And so that's just that's a bunch of different ways you have to use the bounce to have fun and play golf, on these style of golf courses. And again, playing the bounce is a lot of fun. It's a creative way to play, and a lot of times when you start trying to do it more often, you figure out a much better way to play the hole. Because maybe you're taking like a bunker out of play. Maybe you're taking a hazard out of play. Maybe if it doesn't work out, you're giving yourself a simple chip. Those sort of things really can help your score. Now, there are several very famous golf courses that make using the bounce a priority. Courses like Oakmont Country Club, Augusta National, Pebble Beach, Pinehurst No. 2, all of the British Open Rota courses, the Brandon Dunes courses, Streamsong Resort down in Florida, and there's still lots more. But those are some of the more popular ones. And all those golf courses put a priority on the bounce, on trying to play the bounce. So learning how to do it, understanding how to do it, and understanding that it's not a game of perfect. It's going to give you some good stuff. It's going to give you some bad stuff. That's part of golf. But anyways, playing the bounce is a lot of fun. So, yeah. So that's all I got for you, the main topic. Let's move on to the tip of the week. This week's tip of the week is on playing smart. There's a lot that goes into a round of golf. Using your brain to get through it as efficiently as possible is the key. Play it smart, play to your strengths, and don't do anything stupid, like trying to hit a long iron over a tree to a tuck pin. That's just dumb. That's my tip of the week. Play smart, play to your strengths. Now, currently, I am working on tee shots and putting. So, since I started studying my game and my strokes gained stats, I've had a major breakthrough with my scoring. Consistently scoring a lot better. So, currently, my two biggest areas that I work on are tee shots and putting, followed by my scoring shots from 30 to 100 yards. Since improving those three areas, I'm starting to play under par consistently. Yeah, that means I'm shooting under par on the reg. So, yeah, figuring out some stats, figuring out what works best for my game has made some huge progress for me. So, think of what it could do for you, and I help with that. And so that's all I got for y'all today. Yeah, remember, you can connect with me via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on email. And if you want to learn more about how Tyler Dice Golf can help you to your best scores, contact me either via email or Facebook, aka social media. And I'll explain how TDG can help you play your best. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Keep grinding.